The price tag of power. There is an old bison who has seen everything. He wears a black suit, a neat black tie. He has been standing in the corners of history for 250 years, watching men in important chairs make decisions that echo long after the chairs are empty. He has shaken his large, heavy head more times than seems reasonable for one creature to endure. But he keeps showing up, because someone has to witness. It starts with George Washington, straight-backed, serious, the kind of man born looking like he belongs on currency, climbing on a horse and leading 13,000 soldiers to crush a rebellion of farmers who couldn't afford to pay their whiskey tax. He wins completely. His enemies use the image to paint him as a king wearing a republic's clothing. He was probably right. It cost him anyway. John Adams makes it illegal to criticize the government. Newspaper writers go to jail for having opinions. The bison stands outside the jail bars, turns to look directly at you, and raises both hands in a "can you believe this" gesture. History answers by handing Thomas Jefferson the next election on a silver platter. Jefferson, flush with victory, closes every American port to punish the British. The British barely notice. American merchants go bankrupt. The economy flatlines. Jefferson repeals the policy 3 days before leaving office. 3 days. And hands James Madison a country already fraying at the edges. Madison goes to war with an army assembled from whatever was available. Crooked hats, one boot each, broken muskets. The British burn the White House to the ground. Madison runs, coat flapping, hat flying, while British soldiers march calmly behind him, completely unbothered. And so the pattern is set. James Monroe draws a line across America and calls it peace. Thomas Jefferson calls it a fire bell in the night. Monroe kicks a can labeled "Slavery Crisis" down a very long road. At the end of that road, an explosion blooms slowly on the horizon. Andrew Jackson looks at a Supreme Court ruling that says he cannot forcibly remove Native Americans from their land. He smirks. The trail of tears begins. The bison's jaw drops. The procession keeps walking. Millard Fillmore signs the Fugitive Slave Act. Franklin Pierce gets bleeding Kansas. James Buchanan watches the country come apart, declares secession illegal, does nothing, picks up his bag and walks out the door whistling, giving a cheerful wave over his shoulder without turning around. A sign on the wall reads, "Good luck, next guy." The next guy is Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln holds up the Emancipation Proclamation while critics close in from every direction, pointing, accusing, furious. He does not move, does not flinch. The camera pushes slowly in on his face. The bison turns to look at you with one eyebrow raised and a small smirk. Not bad for a document people called illegal. Ulysses Grant sits at his desk looking noble while corrupt advisors steal everything in sight behind his back. The bison watches from the doorway with his face buried in one hoof. Theodore Roosevelt has dinner with Booker T. Washington, the first black American formally dined at the White House by a president, then backs away from the table when the pressure becomes too much. The bison's expression goes flat. The moment that could have meant something became a footnote. William Taft comes in third in his own re-election. Woodrow Wilson builds a wall down the center of the federal government. Warren Harding looks away while his friends rob the country blind. Calvin Coolidge waves goodbye months before the Great Depression begins. Herbert Hoover raises taxes on 20,000 imported goods in the middle of that depression and watches the world turn its back, country by country, like clocks running out of time. Then the rooms get heavier. Franklin Roosevelt signs Executive Order 9066. Through the window behind him, small cartoon family figures walk in a quiet procession towards fenced enclosures. The bison stands to the side with his head bowed. No sweat drops, no comedy. Just the slow walk and the bowed head. Harry Truman stands at a crossroads between two impossible signs, and his eyes move back and forth in a slow, weighted loop. Some decisions do not resolve, they just remain. Lyndon Johnson draws arrows on a Vietnam map. 100,000 troops, then 300,000, then 500,000. And with each number, his expression shifts and the bison's alarm grows. 58,000 Americans who never came home. Richard Nixon sits at a cluttered desk with a spinning tape recorder and darting eyes, and the bison turns slowly from the doorway to look directly at the camera with a long, knowing headshake. Nixon stands at the podium with his defeated V for victory sign, arms rising reluctantly, forced smile building. The banner unfurls above him. First resignation in history. The bison looks at you, one eyebrow raised.
Would have preferred he just took the loss. George W. Bush points a laser pointer at a WMD diagram with complete confidence. The pointer finds a question mark. A tumbleweed rolls slowly across the diagram. The bison stares at the question mark. The question mark stares back. Donald Trump's frame is the most muted in the entire story. A fence runs down the center. Parents reach through from one side. Children stand on the other with slow falling tears. The bison stands with his head completely bowed, arms at his sides, completely still. The stillness is the statement. Now all 45 of them sit at one long table. The bison stands at the head and looks at every single one of them. From Washington to Biden, 250 years of decisions made in room.